Nothing spreads joy quite like receiving a classic gift of a flower bouquet. And a new year means new floral trends, of course. They're on the rise and in full bloom.
That's right. From birthdays to celebrations and other miscellaneous events to come, you don't need to have a green thumb to gift the perfect arrangement. And here to help us unpack all of it is product and floral designer manager at UrbanStems, Justin Lievano. Hello. Am I saying your name correctly?
You are. 4 syllables. Lievano. Thank you so much.
I was sweating.
I just had this.
We're both Latino. You got it right.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Thank you for bringing us to your flower shop. It looks great.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming. I'm so happy to have you guys.
This is great. The graphics department here never ceases to amaze me.
Work.
Okay, several questions. We were a buzz in the morning meeting because I was like, I do this and it doesn't work, and I know all the tricks, and then just when I do them, they don't work. But let's just take it one by one. First up, we mentioned trends. What flower trends are we going to be seeing? Are we already seeing for this 2024?
Absolutely. So we're already seeing some wonderful things. I think when we think about where we are right now, it's January, it's winter. So it's all about the flowers that you might love already. Roses, ranunculus, you know, whatever that might be, accented with seasonal texture, right? So here I've got this gorgeous all-white bouquet, very creamy, very luscious, accented with magnolia foliage and some silvery, this is called Dusty Miller, and that just makes it feel very wintry, right? It makes the moment feel very present.
It does.
And a little eucalyptus to round out
a little bit
the
too, to add to that silvery feeling.
Okay.
So that is definitely one way to kind of tackle the season.
Your winter whites.
Exactly, your winter whites. And then over here, we have this gorgeous bouquet that's kind of looking ahead to spring. So we've got some beautiful winter flowers in here, like anemone, but we also have some beautiful spring tones in these ranunculus. Isn't that gorgeous?
That's
with these beautiful roses. So it's like nodding. We're looking ahead.
We're looking ahead.
And I think stylistically, really the direction that we try to lean in, and a good place to go is just like the classics with a modern twist, right?
Classics with a modern twist.
So like over on the far end, we've got all these gorgeous varieties of like really luscious crimson roses, but
I love
they're
these.
paired with red anemone and ranunculus, because here's the thing, everybody's seen a dozen roses in a vase with baby express over and over again,
Basic.
right? We've been there. And we're ready to move ahead, right?
Yeah.
So do something a little more interesting, right? Pair the roses with something you wouldn't necessarily expect, and it's that classic richness, the romance, with the contemporary twist.
And I don't know about you guys, but personally, I kind of like the very ever so slight varying shades of red happening here.
That's right.
For the dimension.
Kind of tone on tone.
Yes.
A tone on tone business.
Exactly.
Okay, before we go, mention these two flowers. Can we get a?
So
this guy is called who?
That's ranunculus.
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 Don't be ranunculus.
Gorgeous. And then actually, Alex, the flower that you called out with that beautiful dark center,
the
that's
center.
an anemone.
That's an anemone.
That's
like
the one.
From the sea.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
but
is
this
the
one's
anemone.
a land anemone.
Exactly. We're not talking
I
about
live in anemone.
Nemo and his friends. Okay, so another thing we were talking about, flowers. Here in the Northeast, we are not seeing a lot of flowers.
Right.
So if we get flowers, say Yippa gives me this beautiful bouquet, I go home, I put it in a thing. How am I keeping her alive?
Great question. So a couple things. One, it's the winter right now. Your heat's on. Keep the flowers away from the heat.
There we go. I'm already doing that wrong. Okay.
Yeah, they don't need to be warm. They don't need to be warm. Also, with the water, what your flowers want is just fresh water all the time. So
not from my faucet?
No, the tap works. The tap is perfect.
You don't have to
I don't have to give them from my Brita.
Exactly. No, they don't need the Brita.
They take Evian only.
Exactly. Fiji water. No, the tap is fine, but just keep an eye on that water. If it's ever looking cloudy, change it out. Room temperature is fine.
Room temp. So not freezing and not hot.
Exactly. If you're comfortable, they're comfortable, right? And in terms of keeping the water fresh, if you have flower food, amazing, you can use it.
Is that the little packet that
exactly
comes
right.
Okay.
So that has ingredients that are going to keep bacteria from growing in the water, and they're going to feed the flowers. But if you don't have that handy, that's totally okay. Just change out the water like every other day. It seems complicated, but it's pretty easy to do.
Every other day.
Exactly, because what your flowers really need is just fresh water.
I just have a vision of you opening your refrigerator, getting out your Brita, and bringing it over to your flowers. Now,
I'm sure they wouldn't be mad at you, but it's not necessary.
Does it matter the vase that they go in?
So that's purely a style choice, right? That's about your interior, that's your decor, what feels good to you. In terms of like practical sizing, yeah, you want to pick a vase that fits, but otherwise it's just what speaks to you. You know, what looks beautiful on your coffee table or in your kitchen.
And remind us again, if it comes with any accoutrement, we should put it into the arrangement, put it into the water.
Exactly, yeah. So most flower food has like mixing instructions on the back.
Flower food.
Yes.
I'm calling it accoutrement.
It can be the accoutrement. It's the accoutrement. It's the alimentation. It's whatever you need. But yeah. But there's mixing instructions usually on the back of the flower food. It'll tell you it's about a packet per liter of water. So you can just mix a little bit, put it in the vase, and if you have extra, you can actually keep that in the fridge for later.
For the next time.
Exactly.
Now,
for when you
enough
need to
about
refresh.
us.
Are we cutting these things?
You are. You are cutting them.
Before they get, like when you get them fresh,
Exactly.
not, okay.
Cut them and then put them in the water because the stems will seal up and cutting them again opens them, lets them hydrate so they can drink.
Should you cut them on an angle?
Yes,
Should you
absolutely.
cut them underwater?
You don't need to cut them underwater, just on an angle and then pop them into the water as soon as you can.
And what does that do?
So by cutting on an angle, you actually increase the surface area where the flower can take in water. A flower stem is just like a bunch of straws, basically. And so when you give them the chop at the bottom, it opens up all those straws. They're called xylem if you want to be like botanical about it.
Down and
he just wants a chemistry class.
But if you want to, I mean, if we're keeping it casual, it's just a bunch of straws. So giving a nice clean chop on an angle increases the surface area where the water can come into the stem.
Okay, can we make a, my
It's a lot of information.
Holy moly, can we can we really make our own arrangements?
Yes, you can.
Are you sure?
I'm sure you can.
Do you have your Brita thing ready?
We don't need a Brita filter.
Okay.
We don't need a Brita filter, but we can work with one of these bouquets here.
Okay.
So you're making your own bouquet, right? I always carry a flower knife. It's important.
That's a flower knife.
Yes.
May I touch your flower knife?
Of course you may.
How many times a day do you get asked that?
You know, not many. This is the first today. But you know, tips for making your own bouquet, right?
Yes.
It's pretty simple. And it's about balance. You want to balance your focus flowers, which are your big, showy face flowers, right? Like this gorgeous mum here, right? It's eye-catching, it's grabbing focus.
Don't focus on the accoutrements.
So that's a focus flower.
The big showy one.
And then you want to balance that with texture so that you get a nice mixed look. So if you had this bunch of flowers in front of you, your focus flowers are your beautiful roses, right? Beautiful full-size roses. And then you're getting texture from this gorgeous goldenrod. This is called solidago. And you can add that to your bouquet, and you can also get texture from other types of smaller flowers like spray roses.
Smaller roses,
Exactly. But what you want to do essentially as you add stems to your bouquet is just keep things balanced. So I added a rose, then I added a little texture. Now I'll add another focal flower, and then eventually I'll add more texture. And as you kind of put things together, you want to balance your elements, right? So if I take a stem like this is an interesting stem called Cresspedia.
I love that.
What is it called?
Cresspedia.
Cresspedia.
Billy balls, if you like, depending on who you're asking.
Billy balls?
Billy balls, some people call them. So if you were to use something fun like this, my suggestion would just be balance it across the bouquet, right? So you've got one over here, bring one around to the opposite side as well, and that way you're creating the interest across the bouquet.
I have another question.
Tell me.
With the height, I see that we're all at one height here. Should it be around that? Do you want somebody to stick out more?
So you can play with things that are sticking out more, absolutely. And when you have flowers that have a lot of visual interest, maybe like the anemone over there, or maybe like the Cresspedia, the Billy balls here, if you pull those out like an inch above everybody else, you create movement, you create interest. It makes it for a really fun bouquet.
I'm gonna take this one home because I don't have to.
You're welcome to take this one home.
After you gather everything, let's say you've made your ideal bouquet, then you cut everybody.
Then everybody gets cut, exactly.
That's what I'm already doing. I'm doing everything wrong, but that's glaringly wrong.
But I would think too. You put it in the vase. You got to step away.
Exactly, and then you want to play. You want to tweak things. You might lift it out. You might
the same
set
way we
something
do
in
our
deeper.
hair.
Exactly.
You're doing the same.
And we shouldn't be removing any leaves, right?
You should, if the leaf is going to end up below the water.
Below the water.
Ding, 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 ding.
Any leaf that's going to fall below the water, peel that off, and that'll help keep things fresh too.
Here's your flower knife.
Thank you so much.
I hope someone asks to see it at least 12 more times today. Thank you. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.